Welcome back, everybody. My Twitter has been blowing up this morning because I, just like you, am so excited to welcome Humberly Gonzalez to the show. Welcome, Humberly and Oreo. Hello.
Yes, we're both here. We're quarantine buddies for life now.
Yes, it's awesome. Well, again, in doing my prep, because I didn't know you. When I invite people onto my show, I usually know their work. I have seen their work, and I have very specific things that I want to talk to them about. In your case, Sujith Viragis, who's
Yeah.
amazing, who was your dad on a TV show, he
Yeah.
recommended that I talk to you, and that's when I kind of started doing my dive and getting to know you. And of course, Oreo was all over Twitter and IG, so I wanted him to be a part of the show too.
He's excited too. Mostly anytime I get to hold him, he's like, I'm good.
My dog is bigger. We can't hold him. He's 60 something pound.
Yeah,
A
he's 15, so manageable.
little easier. But yeah, all dogs are awesome. And one of the byproducts of this terrible COVID time that we're going through is the fact that dogs can finally get the love that they deserve from us.
So much attention. I know. They're probably like, why are you here every day? Yeah.
So people love you. I mean, it's evident. It's not a joke. And here's just the latest example. This morning, on Twitter, you posted. Here's your tweet. How is everybody doing? How are your hearts, minds, and bodies? Are you drinking enough water? Still dismantling the supremacy, calling out racism, pressuring to defund the police, remembering the Stonewall riot, and celebrating Pride? Great. Just checking in, and I'm here for you. But you didn't just post it and kind of set something into the world and let it be. You spend, I don't know how much time going and answering questions and responding to people and offering love, kindness, support, advice. And you're going the extra mile would probably be a wrong way of even saying that. What makes you do that? What makes you spend so much time going through it?
Honestly, I tell a lot of my followers this, even if they've just started following me or I've known them for a while. I really, truly am human just like them. They get excited because, when you see someone on TV and then they reply to you, it feels like there's this separation. But I want to get rid of that
Yeah.
because I know what we're going through right now. This year has been so overwhelming. There's been so much, and not to be general, but on top of a pandemic, we are,
Mhm.
almost realizing and revisiting the systemic racism, inhumanity, the injustice, the police brutality against marginalized bodies, people of color. We're going through a huge shift that doesn't just affect me, but everybody else. And people are in my thoughts. All people are. And just as much as people check in on me, I want to check in on them, even if it's not someone that I'm super close with, but I feel like I have some tools that I can offer to people where I can talk to them. I can, have a conversation without judgment. I am so pro educating and having a conversation rather than blacklisting people or canceling people when we have different points of view. And I think that's important. And I've actually made great friends online through this platform and through Twitter and Instagram. And I think we need more of that. We need to support each other a lot more, hold each other accountable. It's okay to make mistakes. For me, I have never really been an activist online. I always felt like being quote unquote political. It just brought me a lot of fear. I felt like I didn't know enough or I wasn't educated enough. And this year has made me realize that it is my duty as a human being to stand up for what I believe in. And I am going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But I am also going to hold myself accountable and continue growing and learning. And I want to let people know that I am there for them through that process too. I think it's really important. And maybe the world needed a bit of a shake like this. Yeah.
I think so. I think so too. 2020 has been a very interesting year. It's been a tragic year for so many,
Yeah.
and yet I think it's somewhat a year of awakening. And hopefully, when we look upon that year in the distant future, we look upon it as a year of a positive change. I really hope that that's the case.
Yeah. I hope that it does create more unity and people do come to realize like the place that we live in and people's privileges versus other people's not the people who don't have that. And even us sitting here, I am a person of color, but I also feel like I have such a huge privilege to be able to sit here in the comfort of my home, in the safety of my home, and talk about my passion and my work and what I get to share with the world. I didn't grow up here. I did flee a country that was in political turmoil at one point too, and my dad decided to take my brother and my mom and I out of there. That was a privilege in itself because my family doesn't get to experience that. But to have a platform and to get to follow my dream as an actor and share it with the world, that is something that I'll continue doing and still have a point of view through it all. It won't just be this like amazing thing that I'm doing, but I also realize that I get to also speak to the things that I believe in and fight for change. And because I am going to be part of this world for the next centuries, I
Yeah,
hope. So if I'm going to be part of that world, I have to be part of the change too. And I hope that the people who follow me and come across my work and my platform, it will give them information and inspiration to do the same. And it'll be a journey because I'm also learning and growing. So I won't always have all the answers, but I will at least have something to stand for. Yeah.
good. I know saying something is brave is a very relative term, considering people who are protesting and people who are dealing with things that are a lot different from what we're referring to. But as an actor, being brave of going out there and saying what is on your mind, it's a brave step because you don't know, in our world of acting, it's very subjective and there are so many variables to it, and you saying one thing or another on social media can be potentially a death sentence to a project. So it is a brave step and I commend you for doing it.
Yeah. I think it's definitely the way I want to live. At least I know that much. So the
Good.
stories and the projects that I'll be a part of, I will always be vocal about that. And I don't think, especially moving forward and after everything that's happening, I think we are going to need a lot more diversity and different stories to be told. And not just because of the color of our skin or our ethnicity to fill, a checklist, but because we're human and we have stories just like any other person. And the second we kind of take that away, you realize that, we do look different. We come from different parts of the world, but we have the same kinds of stories. We all go through suffering and growing, and I want to be able to tell that story without having the like Latina be at the forefront. I am proud to be Latina. I'm
Yeah.
very proud of who I am, but I am not just that. I'm so much more than that, right? And those are the stories that I believe in, and I hope that we can move towards that direction in the industry. And not just in front of the camera, behind the camera too, writers and like everyone that makes up the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see positive steps in that direction. So it's good. Again, I'm a white male. So, from my perspective, it's not like, I can talk about being disprivileged, but I want more diversity because I see people, my friends are people of all shapes and colors and, sexual persuasions. I want all of that represented on screen because it makes the tapestry of life more interesting to be a part of.
And
So absolutely.
yeah, like
Is
make
it?
TV like real life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? I remember, I'm 45 years old. When I started and I wanted to be an actor, my parents said, "Well, you're not good looking enough to do that." My parents are old-fashioned. I didn't take it the wrong way, I think. But there was the stigma of you have to be the leading man type, otherwise you're not going to succeed as an actor. And that's just simply not true. There are parts for everybody. There are parts for every color, every age group. It's there because that's life. And I think
Right. We're telling stories. Yeah.
yeah, more and more we see that on TV, which is great.
Yeah.
To follow up on last part that we were talking about, you being so accessible to people, which I think is wonderful. Do you worry that as you get more and more busy, that you won't have enough time to be as accessible as you are right now?
For sure. And I've actually voiced this to a few people who I talk to often or we engage. I think Utopia Falls created such a beautiful fandom.
Yeah.
It is a young demographic. It is, people who are artists who felt inspired and encouraged to share their art as well. And so the reason that I've been so active is because I want to encourage that. I think art creates art. So the fact that a show that I was part of allowed other people to share their voice too and their artistry in whatever way, dancing, singing, drawing, it's been so amazing. So
Hmm.
me reaching out, I've definitely gotten that response, which is, wow, no one has ever really taken the time to answer or to even have any kind of words or response. And it's not like they expect an everyday thing or an entire monologue. But sometimes I've even voiced this in some of the lives that, I go on and talk to my followers. I share that. And it's also one of my anxieties. And I remind them that I'm also human and that I also need time for myself and to kind of process everything that's going through. Just like for them, it's new for them to talk to me. It's also new for me to talk to them. So I'm no different. I'm just going through a different side of it, and I try to give a perspective of what it's like for, I guess, the artists on this side of things. It's amazing to receive that much love and support. I also, yeah, sometimes I feel this like guilt that if I don't answer right away or if I don't say something, they'll think I don't love them or I don't see them. So I try to always at least say something to the fact that even though I can't answer to all of you, I see you and I appreciate you. And please keep making your art because it makes me so happy to see it. And when I can, I will reach out. And when I can't, to not take it personal because I think we're all going through life and we all wish we could kind of do everything all at once. I know I'm one of those people, but
Yeah.
at least the sentiment goes out there that I do see all of it and I don't take that for granted because I think we can create such a powerful support system that way.
Yeah, and you are, and that's what I see. There's been a tremendous response just from me saying that I'm about to talk to you, and people were so excited because they all want for you to be seen and heard and appreciated for who you are. So it's great. It was very heartwarming to see.
Yeah, it's so sweet. I'm like, I want you to be seen and heard too. You're valid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you consider yourself an extrovert? I see you do a lot of these, kind of reach outs. You're doing Instagram
yeah,
Live, doing all sorts of things.
for
Are you?
sure. Yeah, definitely. I'm the kind of person that I will talk to strangers outside and I will, I slackline a lot at the park and it's something that I love doing. And I always love teaching people and I make so many new friends because of that. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I grew up in a country where everybody was always so charismatic and forward to sharing even when you don't have a lot. It's kind of how you create relationships and that's true. I always hold that with me, just the way that my family is towards strangers and people that you don't know or people who have less than you. I have always wanted to always be humble and give. I am definitely a giver and yeah, I enjoy that.
Do you find, and again, you've mentioned, having your own anxieties and needing time to process. Do you
Mhm.
find that with being an extrovert, I consider myself an extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
I need my time alone. I need my silence, and I mean that in a literal way. I just need silence in order to kind of regroup and recharge. Do you find similarities there, or you get energized by being an extrovert and you don't need kind of the alone time?
I think I probably lean more towards the latter. I do get energized by being an extrovert and engaging with people. However, this year has shown me a different side of myself because I wasn't able to socialize much or at all, really. I live with my partner and my dog. So to have just like that small group of interaction, and also I spent a long time by myself too. I found that, I like gaming or drawing and listening to music or just like chatting with people online or dancing, doing videos, just things like that that I don't have to do with other people, but I'm enjoying as well. It's still social in an aspect of it because still engaging online, but yeah, I don't always need the time alone per se, but maybe sometimes away from social media or the things that I share or simply even just in a day, just having to like go for a walk, take my dog out, exercise, do something for me. But I have to say that if I had it my way, I would definitely just like be around people all the time.
Good. It's good to hear. Um, I know you again. You've mentioned that you grew up. Well, growing up is a relative term again. You were
Yeah.
born in Venezuela. You've traveled quite a bit with your family. You started learning English in Aruba.
Yeah.
Um, so I grew up in Ukraine or former Soviet Union. I came here when I was 14. Here is in Chicago. So I understand that aspect of it. I actually started learning English mostly because I am a poet, I'm a lyricist, and I couldn't share my poetry and lyrics with anybody because now it's in a different language.
Oh my God,
So
I know the
that
struggle.
whole, yeah, that whole part of me was cut off. My identity was no longer there. I learned English just so I can write in English. What was it like for you? Again, being a very social person, being an extrovert, and now not knowing necessarily the language that most people speak around you.
Oh my goodness. I still have so many memories from that. Since I was like 5 or 6, I always wanted to learn English.
Okay.
So I was actually in English classes in Venezuela for years. Nothing that would allow me to have a full-on conversation, but things like I knew the colors and phrases and numbers and just little things like that. And we used to always put on like little shows, like singing shows. So I knew some of the Christmas music and just things like that. But when I did leave Venezuela for good and we moved to Aruba, that's when things got very real for me because the international school I was in was obviously all in English. And I
Mhm.
did have to go to school. And then right after, I had to go to ESL. So it's almost like having this like double learning curve. Like during the day, I was so lost and I had no idea what I was being taught. And then when I go to ESL after English as second language, they would explain all of the things all over again in my language. And then I tried to like make sense of everything. So
Yep.
for schooling wise at the beginning, it was definitely tough. With friends, also, but there were a lot of Latin people in my school as well. So I had people who were translating at all times, and that was really nice of them because I'm like, I just want you to have fun, but like you're all laughing and I have no clue why you're laughing.
Yep.
So I definitely had feelings of like, feeling left out, but I didn't let that get to me because it just kind of it made me want to learn faster and more. So I actually was able to communicate in English like within 3 or 4 months. I was already like doing pretty well and I was able to carry on conversations. I was able to at least be in class and not be completely lost. So it didn't take me that long. I was about 12, I think 11, 12 when I learned English and I was like fully fluent. And then from then it's just been a journey of learning more words and working on my accent and things like that just because I wanted to be an actor. But
Yep.
what a crazy ride. The fact that I'm speaking to you in English right now and it's like perfectly said and like that was a dream of mine for so long. So I always catch myself when people ask me that question, I'm like, oh, the memories. I remember the struggle of learning a new language and like the frustration and the not knowing it right away. And but I think it taught me a lot about patience and how I do learn and the fact that sometimes you don't need language to talk to other people. I did a lot of mannerisms and like song lyrics helped a lot, like learning songs. Yeah.
For me, again, I was 14. So, right, you're a 14-year-old kid. You're in a brand new country. You're going through puberty. You're trying to
That's
figure
pretty
out
old.
kind of your
Like at the cusp of,
yeah.
yeah.
And the ESL class, I got put into an ESL class, and I because some of the people that I kind of became friends with that were Russian speaking, they were in a different class. I kind of just sat with them
Right.
and realized after that they were basically in normal English and not ESL, and people just allowed me to do that. So I think that helped my growth. And within a short period of time, I was speaking again. And so it's a very interesting process
Yeah,
of how you fit into a society while trying to figure out who you are.
for
It's,
sure. And that's
it's
only based on language. Then there's, learning about sarcasm and
Yep.
all of these things was another layer that just like went right over my head. So, but it was fun because my friends I think enjoyed that and I had a lot of support through it, which was really nice. So, um, hopefully,
Um,
yeah.
my my first sleepover was with American friends who I think I was 15 and or maybe even still 14, and it was a sleepover. It was the first sleepover. And in Ukraine, we didn't do sleepovers. That was not a thing. So I go to a sleepover. My parents are excited. You're assimilating, bro. And I get in there, and then they're watching Eddie Murphy's Raw. And I couldn't understand a thing. All I knew is that they said before, very specifically, whatever you hear, do not repeat in school. So I knew that something was off, but I couldn't understand the thing. After a while, when I watched it, I said, okay, got it. Now I
Yeah.
know I wasn't supposed to repeat anything. For those who haven't seen Eddie Murphy's Raw, look it up and make sure that you're not at work because it's not safe in terms of language.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first work of yours that I came across in kind of doing my prep was Anna Moreno, which was a really lovely short that kind of showed me the different aspects of you. And I know you created the character. Is that how you see yourself? How you see the kind of the melding of the different parts of you?
For sure. Yeah, I loved doing that. And the fact that I got to speak Spanish and English and showing the double self, I feel like growing up in South America and then now most of my adult life has been in North America, I do sometimes feel like this split. And it's very apparent to people who know me for a long time and they see me in both worlds. Someone like my partner, even yesterday, I was laughing, and because I was speaking in Spanish, even my laughter is different. It's like
Yes.
hearty and it has a different tone, and it's almost like I'm these two different humans. And when I started my acting path and like working professionally, I was really struggling joining them both because I felt like sometimes acting in English there was this barrier and it wasn't as grounded and it didn't hit me as hard as when I heard the words in Spanish. Even my agent told me that there's like this glitter and this glimmer in your eye when you speak in Spanish, and sometimes it's not there when you speak in English. And I'm like, well, of course, because it's put on. It's almost like this assimilation, like this assimilated Umberly, like the North American perfect and prim, like don't be too Latina, don't take up too much space, don't be this like fiery person. That I think I took on that mentality when I moved to Alberta, and like maybe I was a little too intense, like coming from island life to like Alberta, and there weren't really that many Latinos in my school. I was in like the white school, so I felt like I had to really shift a lot to try and fit in. Um, and I carried that with me for too long, and I had kind of lost that Latin fire, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And I guess in making this short, I wanted to show that um, why there was a separation, and there's like political talk in there, and a little bit of like fleeing a country, and when you get the opportunity to be in a new country and pursue something, sometimes you have to kind of play into it so that you can fit in, but don't get lost. I was like, do not lose yourself just because you're trying to fit in. So I was trying to remind myself of that. And then at the end, you kind of see them like
Yes.
amalgamate and fuse into one. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, that, I do have this very passionate, extroverted, loud, kind of like unashamedly myself side to me that could be very, intimidating or like intense for some people, but it's also who I am and where I come from. So I'm okay with it now.
Yeah, you have to be you. What I found in my 45 years of existence is that until I allowed myself to merge those aspects of myself into one, I was never happy.
Yeah,
And I couldn't figure out what it was. I thought it was a job. I thought it was something. It's not. It's
yeah.
your
It's an
you.
internal thing
That's it.
for
So
sure. And I think from that moment on, I really feel like my work as an actor really changed. I think my time at CFC like made a lot of pennies drop, and it shifted my work into a more transparent and like engaged, and like really it was so tied into who I really am that anytime I got any opportunities after that, it was so authentic to me that it was the reason I was getting that many opportunities and I was being said yes to. And people were like, I see you and I recognize the truth in your work. We want to work with you. And I think, yeah, my career just kind of like really elevated after that. And it wasn't a magic trick, it was just me seeing myself, allowing space for myself, and being okay with being seen, truly. Which is not easy. And I think I've been told that like forever in theater, being grounded, connected, like it comes from you, all of these things that I was like, okay, but how do I like embody that?
yeah.
And it finally kind of clicked. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, and the path of acting is a circular one. You start out being yourself, and then you go away from that. Hi, how are you? You go away from that, and you try to be somebody else, and you try to find the truth in that work, and then eventually you come back to you're you.
You,
And yes, you're other characters, but it's still you.
I know.
Uh, and that's when it clicks. So
That
I'm
makes me
glad.
excited. Like I'm like literally laughing so hard because it's so true. And when I have people ask me for advice, or they're starting out, and the first thing I tell them is, don't try to fit into somebody else's mold, or don't try to be like this character or this person. It's okay to be inspired. And I think the reason we're inspired is because that person is being so themselves that you want that too. So I always tell, people who want to go into acting and want to start, I'm like, find yourself, like hold yourself accountable. Find the things that you love, how you get angry, your triggers, like who are you in real life? What's your point of view? What do you stand for? And like all of those things are gonna come in handy for when you take on a character. Because then you just kind of see, okay, like this is Umberly, this is Brooklyn to say. I know there's similarities, but I also know there are differences. So I either have to add or take away things, and that's a great way to start, at
Yeah.
least knowing yourself is like the best platform, the best like going on point. That way you can just, yeah, enhance that and keep growing that because you'll always be growing.
It's true. And it's interesting. As I was looking at your work, and I see moments where you are extremely vulnerable
Mhm.
and sensitive. And then there are moments when you're fire and you're strong. And it's, people can say, oh, she has a range. To me, it just means that these are all aspects of you that you're able to bring out in another character.
For
So,
sure.
yeah, that's once people get that, once people understand that it's you, and then you in another environment, and then the work takes off. So I'm glad.
100%.
Um, Good. Glad we're on the same track. Some people don't want to acknowledge that, and they say, no, 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 never be yourself. You have to be somebody else. And I remember listening to an interview with the actor whose name escapes me right now, but he's a Oscar-winning actor, and he was basically said, "Look, I was getting all of these awards for playing these different characters," and he said, "It's all me. It's different aspects of me.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm happy you're awarding me for it, but it's just me." So it's
I love
that's
I mean,
yeah.
everybody has their own way of achieving those characters. And I understand that if I play something that I've never experienced in my life, it's not
Sure.
going to be me per se, but there's some aspect of my life or my
Mhm.
understanding of life and my emotions that I'll be able to pull from so that it feels authentic and real. So it's not necessarily that I've been in this scenario very specifically, but because it isn't that. Life is its moments and its emotions, and it's the way that we go through it. Like, so I always feel like there will always be something in my life that I can always pull from, which is why, my work will always be changing because as I keep experiencing life, my work will continue to be embellished by it, and it'll add more nuances and different types of the way that I do something. And like that's the exciting part of my work is that it'll never just be the same. Like I haven't just reached the end all be all and that's it. Like I hope not. Oh my goodness. I hope to look back to Utopia Falls in years to come and be like, wow, this was my first series regular role where I got to take on so much and like look how far I've come and look at all the things that I've learned since. Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah, it's you're never going to stop growing. It's a continuous process. On my Instagram account and Twitter and other parts of social media for my show, I post quotes from different actors.
Yes,
And
it's great.
today, today I saw a quote that kind of really hit me from Meryl Streep, which I posted, which said,
Yeah.
during the whole year I can dedicate 4, maybe 5 months tops to my acting work, and I think that really needs to be a reminder for everybody of have a life.
Yeah.
Acting is part of it. You have to know you. You have to continue growing, like you said, as you, and that will allow you to be a great actor. If all you are is acting, 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 it's not going to work.
Yeah. And what are you going to pull from? It's like our hardships, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of the things. I welcome it all because I know that ultimately that's going to enrich my work. And not that every time I experience something, I'm like, use it for acting. Like I let myself really feel it, and I let myself go through every emotion. It's not something I always used to do, because I wanted to just be like positive, positive only, good vibes only, and like all of these things. And I realized that I was actually stopping myself from this other wealth of emotions that I didn't want to feel because they didn't feel good. Um, so I've really like shifted that point, and I'm like, I'm going to let myself feel absolutely everything, not live in it forever, but at least know that this also is part of me, that I'm not just good things only, that there is also bad and hurt and trauma and pain, and that's okay, because that's where we grow and learn from the most. So I appreciate that. Yeah, Meryl. Oh, she's everyone's idol. She's incredible. I can't even. Yeah, it's amazing, that woman.
What you were just saying, and yes, I think Meryl is awesome. And Meryl, what I love about her is, yes, she's an incredible instinctive actress, but she's a real person. She
Yeah,
doesn't pretend to be anybody else. She is very grounded, and she's just a normal human being.
yeah,
And she is an amazing actress, and that's what I aspire to be. I aspire to do that. I don't aspire to be somebody who, dives into a role, never comes out, and is that character for 3 months, and then
right,
doesn't know who they are at the end of it. That's not what I want to do. I want to
right.
be me, and then be able to play somebody else when I choose to.
Yeah,
When you were talking about allowing yourself to feel all of these emotions, the beautiful cartoon that came out a couple of years ago, where we're inside this young girl's head, and all of the different
Inside
emotions.
Out.
Huh?
Is that the Pixar movie Inside Out?
Inside Out, yes.
Yeah,
And how important sadness was to keeping that balance and going through it.
oh,
So
yeah,
yeah, that was a really touching, beautiful piece of art that I
yeah.
really suggest everybody watch if you haven't had a chance to.
It put it so
Um,
perfectly when it was happy sad, and you learn about melancholy, and it's just like, oh my gosh, emotions are so complex, and
yeah,
that's why we need to feel all of them, because it's almost like you can't know happiness without having the opposite. You can't know, you know what I mean? You need to, it's yin and yang. You need to have both. And I know that, especially in the last year and things like this whole like positive vibes only has been pushed upon us, that it almost doesn't allow people to feel the not good, the bad, and that creates a lot of shame and guilt, that when you're not having a good day and you can't share happy thoughts, that you're instantly like shamed into like, no, you should be happy, you should do, and it's like, no, I don't believe in that anymore, and I'm so sorry if I ever was that person. I think at one point I was, that I was just like, nope, just be happy, look at the bright side of things. Like, it's a difference to be realistic and a pessimistic, but you need that. You need to have the moments. You need to let it go through you and know what it's like to feel that, so that when you have the opposite, and it will come, when you're down, you will go up, you can appreciate it also. And that's okay. That's like being human. And yes, watch Inside Out. It's such a good movie. I love Pixar. I've seen every Pixar movie. Yeah.
it's life, and I think that's where the intention of positive vibes only is perfect. The intention is to remind you to be positive, but because we try to get everything into bite-sized chunk things, then
Yeah.
we miss the overall objective of it. The overall objective was never to only feel positivity.
Right.
To
And the only, like, it felt like that. And I was like, oh, that's scary. And I don't, yeah.
the
It's like,
wrong kind of wrong approach. People need to feel a whole range of emotions. We are humans.
yeah,
Life is
agreed.
a never-ending, all-you-can-eat buffet, and there is everything in it that you can take.
Good enough.
Um,
Yeah.
I try to, like, how do you explain to, I have a daughter who'll be 16 this year, and a son who'll be 11. How do you explain life to the kids as they're growing up, and they see they're used to be in a loving environment, they're used to be in an accepting environment, and then how do you explain that there is a whole other side, and hatred and ugliness and drama and tragedy? How do you explain that to them so they understand that all of that happens, but it's okay, and I don't need to be in that all the time. So, me naturally, I'm trying to, figure out different analogies, and all you can eat buffet is one of those.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's important to, as parents, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I always imagine that that is a very tricky part of it, because we can't just kind of protect forever, and we need to kind of see everything, all of the things that are happening in life, and the good, the bad, the ugly, all of those things. And I appreciate that you're doing that, because it'll only create someone who's a lot more open-minded and can empathize with people when they're not in the good vibes only mentality. And I think that's important to be able to at least hold space for those people that are not always happy, and to offer support, for her friends and family. You never know, like, it comes back
Oh,
to you, right? Yeah.
my wife, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, she was complimenting my daughter. My wife was, she works a lot, and she felt overworked and very tired and not enough sleep. And my daughter picked her up. My wife started, not to overemphasize things, but started feeling more negative, as opposed to kind of her usual, sunshine self. And my daughter immediately picked her up and got her out of that, and they went and they, did stuff together. So it works. So I was so proud, to do it. It's great. So, coming back to acting, and one more short that I really enjoyed watching, which was the motorcycle project. How's that going? Was that, I saw a bunch of, likes and things. Is that something that potentially is going to get picked up? Because I'd like to see it.
No clue. I mean, it was part of the IPF project, so we made a
Yeah.
trailer to get funding.
Mhm.
So because once we didn't get it, it didn't really go anywhere. But it was such a cool concept, and I loved working with Elise, and everyone involved was just, it was such a fun thing that we could have done. We had the ideas of like potentially going to South America and shooting, and like having all of that. Obviously, right now it's probably even less so that it will happen because we can't travel, but you never know. I think it's one of those projects that is like there in the back burner of the creators. Me being just an actor and part of it, don't really have
Yeah.
any say in it, but you never know what can come back. I think sometimes ideas and concepts take years and to refine, and then maybe it'll be the right time to do it again. But either way, doing that trailer was still so exciting. Yeah.
Yes, it was great. I loved it. What made that kind of the light bulb of acting is my thing happen for you?
Oh my gosh. I feel like there's been so many moments, but when I knew
Hmm.
that I really, really wanted to do it was definitely when I was at NTS in Montreal. Um, it was like 3 years of conservatory. And
Yeah.
on my last year, third year, we got to work with Don McKellar, and he kind of wrote this short, like a little short for all of us, like based on my entire class. It was like 12 of us, and he wrote a short for us. And we got to come to Toronto and film it for a week. Martha Burns was there. She was like our mentor. And we got
Okay.
to kind of see everything that it took to create a film, which I had never even been in a set. I knew
Yeah.
nothing. I didn't know what continuity was or where to look, marks, anything. It was just so new for me because I was only in theater,
Yeah.
and I already loved theater. So I was like, yeah, like I'll continue with theater. I don't know if it'll be a full on career. I know that it's tough and like all of these things. But then when I got to work on that project, that week was eye opening because I loved it. There was something about the moments and the being able to restart and creating new moments within the film. And it was the first time that I felt the work really work for me. It was, like small and nuanced, and like TV was just so different. It was a different machine. And the film ended up going to TIFF, and I got to go to TIFF in 2015 and like see our little premiere in the TIFF shortcuts, and that
Yeah.
was so cool seeing it in the big screen and all of my classmates. And I was like, I need to do this. Like, I want to go into film.
Okay.
Um, I had made that decision like right there and then, and during that time I had just started my collaboration and like my partnership with my agent. So her seeing that, it was just very exciting for her too, and like we were all there together. And since then, honestly, I have not done theater since I graduated. I've only ever done film, TV, voiceover, video games. It's all been in like a very digital media type thing. I would do theater again. I think it would have to be a very specific show and project because it does take longer. But I just love, yeah, it was a moment of like, this is going to be my life. So bring it.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And you work your way up. You've certainly done, TV and shorts and other things until you kind of got to, I don't know, what was that springboard? Was the In the Dark kind of the springboard for you, or is it Utopia?
That was the first time that I worked with a big network,
Mm,
and that I had more than 2 episodes in a show. I think I
right.
did 7 or 9, something like that. It was a lot. And it was the first time I got a taste of like being in a project and having a bit of an arc in a way. And it was like big guns, it was like CW. I was like, oh my goodness, like here we go. The CW picked me up. So that was definitely like that year actually and all, because I shot 2 movies that year, which were also lead roles, and I had never shot a lead role in a movie. So that was also a whole other experience that I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. And they were both horror films, which I love. I'm a huge horror buff. So that was exciting. But definitely In the Dark, that was 2018. And then going into 2019, it was just like so many things happened. Like last
Yeah.
year was huge for me. I feel so grateful to have experienced that, and knowing like the possibilities of that and that momentum, and knowing that even though right now I'm not working, um, it'll be slow to start up again, but I know that it will come back, and the arts never die. And especially TV and film, it's like there'll always be more stories. So I'm excited for when that happens again.
Yeah, and you have a lot of projects. You've done a lot of stuff that's supposed to come out this year.
Yeah,
So I don't know if it got pushed or it's still coming out.
it's still
Um,
coming. It's just post production, obviously, and like things kind of slowed down because of the pandemic. But yeah, I recently did ADR for 2 of my projects, so I got to see footage, and it's one of my favorite parts of the process too, because after, it's like months after you shoot it, you get to see your scenes, and it's always fun to be like, oh my God, that's what it looks like. But yeah, there's about like 4 things that are in the works that are coming out for different projects. So that's exciting. Yeah.
let's jump back to Utopia Falls.
Mhm.
You got to do singing and dancing and acting.
Oh
I
God.
know you love singing and dancing, but loving it and doing it at home is different from doing it on screen or in a studio that you got to record in. How was that for you in terms of kind of that transition and saying, oh, okay,
Honestly, like being a triple threat is like, that was a gift as an actor who loves all aspects of expressing herself. Like dancing and singing have always been a part of my life, even before acting. Like I was singing and dancing since I was a kid. So being able to work professionally as an actor, and then being all of these other talents being called upon, was like, oh, here we go. It was very overwhelming at first, because then I was like, yay, I booked it. And then I was like, oh my God, that means that I have to dance in front of the camera, and this is going to be there forever. And I have to sing. I've never sung in a professional recording studio. That's going to be an experience. I'm so excited. It was like exciting and scary, but everybody around me was so supportive. We had incredible mentors, and we had an incredible artistic team that just, they were like, you are the person for this, so there's no doubt about that. So all you have to do is believe in yourself and just keep doing the hard work. I think the most challenging part of it was definitely the dancing. I love improvising dancing. I go out and dance all the time. I mean, not now, but I used to. And it's different doing that and then doing choreo and having to like do it over and over for film. So I had to practice a lot. And honestly, it was great because, I mean, it kept me in shape, but also I realized that, with practice really does come perfect. And I honestly practiced every day. Like it took me hours, and like, dancing at home, dancing wherever I went, I was always like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like it was just like a constant thing, because I wanted it to feel comfortable in my body. And the great thing about TV and film is that if you do mess up, they could either cut to somebody else or you're going to redo it. So there wasn't this huge fear of it being live. I have done live, and it's a lot different because I've done a lot of musicals in my life, but this was just another layer of like, okay, there's marks, there's the camera, there's the whole thing, light, studios, camera. Like it was just incredible. I literally, when I was singing from the fire and I was on that stage with this entire outfit, like I felt like a real pop diva, and it was a dream
Yeah.
come true. Like we had an actual audience and we have everyone every time that it ended. It was just like, oh my God. Yeah, I will never forget that. It was such a cool experience.
Yeah, it kind of had that feeling of, being on The Voice in the later rounds when
Totally.
there's,
I was like, this is my audition.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was very cool. Um, okay, let's talk about kind of the timing of it, right? Because Utopia Falls came out
Yes.
on February 14th, and then 3 months later you had the horrible killing of George Floyd, and you had all the protests that kind of started around that time.
Yeah,
The show is very apropos. How was it for people who were following the show and the cast, and then getting everything kind of in a way being wrapped up into what is happening in reality?
for sure. I mean, the show itself has all of these themes.
Yep.
Even the Utopia Falls page shared that clip that it said, it's Robin Alomar discovering, she plays Aaliyah, and she's discovering what it means to protest. And, she's like, show me signs of peaceful protest. And what does it mean for one to stand up to its own government? These themes of discovery of, Utopia Falls has a way of sharing like the solutions and the problem without actually naming it, because in the world we don't see race or we don't see our sexual orientation, they just are. um, and so because of that, oh my God, it's so relevant to everything that's going on now, that even in their future and years to come, there's still things that they're fighting against, and there's still always something to fight for, and someone doing something wrong to us that we have to like free ourselves from. And it's like history really does repeat itself. And I guess now it's like we don't want it to keep repeating. We want to make work, make art, stand up, actively seek, keep the pressure on to all of these things, that these are not new concepts. All of these things have been happening from the beginning of time and centuries. And it's like the fact that the show came out now and all of this is happening, I'm like, this is where our artistry needs to go. We need to be telling these stories for exactly this reason, because the kids that were watching the show have now learned about things that maybe they hadn't heard before, and they could use the show as a tool to understand what's happening in the world now. So it's like, okay, I saw in Utopia Falls this, how they are discriminating against this one person.
Yep.
And because we had so much diversity in the show, our two leads are Black, and it's incredible that they are able to kind of like make a connection and relate back to it and be like, I understand this and I do believe in this, although it's on my TV and I look up to these actors are also going through that same thing that they're struggling with in the show. So it just, like you said, it's a circle of life and acting and artistry. It just keeps coming back to, we need to stand up for this. We need to do better. We need to keep like sharing those voices so that hopefully they create an impact hard enough and long enough to like, you know, how do you say that? It's like when you put a pebble and it creates these ripples through time. Like I know that Utopia Falls is one of those ripples for sure.
It feels like it. And again, I didn't watch Utopia Falls as it came out. I just started doing my research on it, a number of days ago. And the first thought that came to mind was, wow, this was very relevant, and came out at the right time. So good for the show, good for you, and it's good that it's happening, because again, I have a feeling that it's all a positive change. Now there's a lot of ugliness to change, and it's going to happen. But hopefully, it's a springboard and something that we can build on
For
and
sure.
change people. So um, I want to talk about beauty a little bit. You're a very beautiful woman. When I look at you, I see kind of Morena Bakari. I see Gal Gadot. I see young Catherine Zeta-Jones. So you are who you are, and that's a part of kind of what you bring into the world. In terms of you being on IG Live, I looked at some of the comments that were popping up. A lot of the comments are wonderful, and they're asking you about things that you're doing, or kind of you are cooking, or they were asking about Oreo. And some of the comments have to do with your looks. You're doing an incredible job of not paying attention to it, not letting it affect you, at least outwardly, and just continuing on. Does it affect you, and how do you deal with that? Because you have a lot of people that seems to be focused on that, or solely on that.
And understandably so. I think we live in a society now that puts a lot of emphasis on our outer shell and what we look like. And, for years, a lot of companies and, commercially itself, they prey on our insecurities to make money off of us, especially women who are not comfortable in their skin. And there was always like this new product that can fix this, and this new hair product, and this is, flat tummy, this, there's like this oversensitivity of like how to be better and more beautiful. And we've lost touch with like the inside of that. And I grew up in a country that honestly, one of the most things that they're proud of is Miss Venezuela. So even in my own country, beauty is marked as like the most amazing thing about you. It should be like your number one focus. People always have their hairs and nails done. There's always this thing of like, oh, are you going to wear that? Like, you should wear more makeup. You should do this. Even within my own family, I've had moments in the past where my mom comments on the fact that I'm not wearing enough makeup, or like I should not be wearing that. I should wear this. And I've always fought against that. And I'm like, I'm with my family. I'm comfortable, and I'm okay with not having to wear like, all of these things to cover up what a zit that I got. Like, yeah, it makes me self-conscious. I'm not going to lie about that. But I've come into my own skin so much more now that I want to make sure that, I can accept a compliment and I appreciate that, but I can also give it right back, and you better believe it too. It's not just this one way thing that I'm like, you're beautiful, and I'm like, thank you. I feel beautiful. I am confident. I do things to make myself feel good, but I do it for me, not for the rest of the world. It's like, we need to shift that, because I know for so long the whole world wants to take advantage of the fact that we aren't enough. And I want to encourage people to not just feel good on the outside, but also on the inside. It matters so much. And I know that that's so cliche, but I've had people reach out to me even on private message feeling like, it's like, I wish I looked like you. I wish I was like you. You're so successful. You're so beautiful. And I don't put energy into that. I also put energy into the fact that like, hey, you were brave enough and vulnerable enough to come out and tell me this. That makes you a beautiful person. People who put energy into just what you look like, they're probably insecure themselves. So sometimes that hate comes from hate too. Don't make it mean something about you. Only you can make that real. And just things like that, that it's like we get lost in the noise of the world and the beauty machine of the world, and all of these like beautiful models and social media influencers and all of these things. And like, it's very easy to get caught up on that. And for me, I will always kind of have the voice of the other side, which is, I know I'm beautiful. I have my mom and dad to thank for, who are also very beautiful people. I love my skin. I love my hair. I love my imperfections too. Like, people always come out with that perfect. And I'm like, it makes me more self-conscious when people say that, because I'm like, that's not really a compliment. I don't want to be perfect. I have this fear that people only want to be related to me or want to hang out with me because I am beautiful, or because they think that I will get more things because I'm beautiful, and that it's a privilege to have that. And especially in relationships, for sure, that's come up. It's an insecurity where, in a way that I want to be looked at past this, and I hope that that's why I have to grow as a person and be vulnerable and open to in my work, so that I can allow people to see inward, so that the outer shell also means something. It isn't just like a beautiful face. I don't want to just be friends with people who are beautiful and then they are just shitty people on the inside. You know what I mean? I'm like, that what's inside matters more to me, because I'm going to be spending time with you and sharing my life with you. So I want you to be beautiful inside and out, and I want you to believe that. Yeah.
It's true. And again, this matters more. People may see this first,
Yeah.
but this is what matters. And so many times it's interesting that, and we get impressions of people. It's all, how we're perceiving, and it's all energy. And when you see somebody and they may be beautiful on the outside, and you're like, nope, that's nuts. There's something different there, and that something different is you're perceiving that that person is not, all that inside here.
Totally.
So it's an interesting thing, and in acting, and let's kind of give a reality check to all the young girls who are watching and they want to become an actress, and they are beautiful on the outside. Let's give a little bit of a reality check of being beautiful as an actress means that yes, you may get some doors open for you. Your talent is what's actually going to open the doors, but your looks have something to do with it. But that also means that you're going to get put into more of certain types of roles.
Yeah.
That means that you'll be put in situations where you were just in a project where you were filming an intimate scene with a co-star. He got inadvertently aroused. That was a very awkward thing for everybody. So being the outside beautiful shell is going to put you into more of those situations than me. I'm not. I haven't been asked to play a romantic lead, which is good. I don't have to have that conversation with my wife. But it's that reality check. So what have you found? Based on the outward expression of you, what are some of the pros and cons of it in terms of the acting part?
For sure. I mean, at first, like you said, the second people see me, they've already made up some kind of idea of who I am, how I've lived my life, how easy it must be for me. Not just because of the beautiful thing, but even now, sometimes being a person of color in the industry where diversity is something that they want more of, they almost disregard my work. And who I am as a person, and also the hard work I put in. Like, oh, you got the part because they want diversity, or oh, you got the part because you're like really pretty, and like they want something like that. And it instantly like stops everything on the inside, which is no, like I'm working just as hard as you. I am not just given these parts. I wish people just called me up and said, hey, do you want this role in this part? Like, heck no. I am, I'm learning the lines, I'm doing the work, I'm digging deep, I'm emotional, I'm open, I'm frustrated, I get anxieties too, I get overwhelmed. I want it so bad. So when I get the opportunities, I don't want it to just be down to, oh, it's because you're Latina, oh, it's because you're pretty. I really don't believe that's the case. I
Yeah.
truly don't. And I may be naive for thinking that, but I really feel like my work, because of where it's at and how grounded it is at the moment, that's what's opening the doors for me. And I'm not scared to look ugly on camera or to cry and be angry on camera, to show those ugly parts of myself. Like I invite that. I want that, because that again disrupts the beauty idea that we are just perfect and we don't cry and we don't feel ugly things. Like I get mad, I get frustrated, I've lied and I've done bad things, and like all of these things make me because I'm human. Um, this skin I was born with, I can't change that. So I have to move past that to prove my work, Like you have to fight against the fact that they're gonna box you in into the pretty girl, the girl next door, the ingenue, the whatever. And I actually remember one of my mentors at NTS told me that. She sat me down before I graduated and she was like, don't let people box you in. Don't let them tell you that you're just going to play the pretty girl or the girl who comes out on top. She's like, you have a lot of depth, not just like all humans do, but you really do. She's like, I see this in you, and I encourage you to dig deeper than just looking and finding the perfect outfit and looking good and look like all of these things that like I did grow up with. Like, better look good before you step out that door, or like, make sure you're wearing makeup and your hair's done and blah blah blah, and all of these things that like as a woman I felt growing up. But now I'm like, I'm gonna embrace the other side of it, which is I don't always like wearing makeup, and I can wear baggy clothes and not show off my curves because that's not feminine enough. Like all of these things in the industry that we can break past. I think we're so past that now.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because you're a strong, independent woman doesn't mean that now you're bitchy or that you're bossy or that, you know what I mean? Like there's all these labels that we have. And I'm just like, I'm just here to be me and break all of that. And I can be
Good.
beautiful. I can also be whatever else I want to be. Like just because I'm not wearing makeup and my hair's not done doesn't mean I'm not beautiful. Thank you. Like I love that. Give me the morning look. Like it's just, it comes from within for sure. And that confidence for me, it just comes from knowing that I won't always be this like 10 out of 10 person, and I'm okay with that.
Well, I think you are a team, and it doesn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. One has nothing to do with the other. It's just how you feel and where you're at, and that's okay.
yeah. Speaking of potential stereotyping or potential typecasting, your two biggest roles thus far, before all the other things come out, have been playing an LGBTQ character. You have lots of fans in the community. That's awesome. Do you ever worry that somehow that'll close some doors for you if you're perceived to be a certain type of role?
I don't think so, and I hope not, but
I
I
hope.
also feel like you're also past that, right?
Uh,
I never outwardly have to say, this is who I am, this is my label. I've been very open with, well, my people who are close to me and even on lives recently, because I've been asked that. A lot of my roles are part of the LGBTQ community, and I
mhm,
consider myself part of that community as well. It isn't outside of my realm of who I love and who I interact with.
mhm.
I've always that I love people for who they are, and it doesn't matter how they identify or who they love. Like, if we vibe, and I'm okay with that. Like, I've always felt that, and I don't have to like label it or put a name on it. And I think for me as a person, I'm not misrepresenting myself because I feel like I'm part of that community as well. Whether people know about it on social media or I've posted about, like, that doesn't matter. It's who I am, and I live truly and love who I want. Like, it doesn't matter to me. If my work is going to tell me we don't want you because you're part of this community, or you represent this, then I don't want to work with them either. Like, it's as simple as that, right? And ultimately they're lost because I was going to give you the most honest, authentic work that you could have had for this character. So if you don't want me, then thank goodness, like, your
Yeah.
true colors are shining. Like, that's how I feel.
No, it's great. It's more from the acting perspective of some of my friends who are gay men. Will they be able to play somebody who's straight, or having the stigma of, well, you're gay, can you play somebody who's straight, or somebody conversely, somebody who's straight that played a gay character, then being labeled of, okay, he's gay, he can't play straight anymore. With women, I think it's different. Hopefully, as a society, we're more mature than that anyway. But
For
um, what I wondering about is more from the people who are watching this, who are saying, it's like with me in a slight way of not only playing Russian speaking characters. Just because I'm a bilingual, and just because I can do the Russian accent, doesn't mean
Right.
that that's the only type of role I want to play.
What you're talking about is appropriate representation on screen,
Yeah.
which I'm all for. I always want people to find the perfect person that fits that character,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to playing different ethnicities. Like, for someone like me, I know that I can be very ethnically ambiguous, and I've been told this, and I'm like, okay, but I will never play outside of my realm of reality. Like, within
Yeah.
the Latin world, I can do different accents, but I will never represent someone from a very specific group of people. Like, I'm not Mexican or Mayan. Like, there's the indigenous Mexican people, and like, there's a role that I had been offered to audition, and I was like, I'm not comfortable in doing this because there's other people who can do this better, because it has to do with like a very specific cultural representation, and that I'm not comfortable in doing. Um, when it comes to that, for sure, I'm all for like, find the right person. When it comes to trans actors, find real trans actors that can do this role. Don't pretend to be trans. Like, those things, I'm like, yeah, definitely find those people. I think when it comes, for me as an actor, as a woman playing gay or straight, for me it isn't playing. Maybe people don't know this, or I don't know. I'm like, I don't like, people maybe label me as straight, and I don't consider that to be my label. They're putting that onto myself. But that's also none of people's business either. Like, who I love, I will just love freely, and that's it. But when it comes to the industry, for sure, I think there's people who kind of blacklist that. And I think it is different for men too, even though I have friends who have played gay and straight and they are gay in real life. And ultimately, we are playing, it is a story that is being told. We have the capability of falling in love with different people on screen. It's a lot different than playing a different race, which I don't think that's okay. I will never play anything outside of my own. Like, can't do it because I'm not that. So find the actual actor that will represent that for sure.
Yeah, love is love. I mean, Birdcage is one of my favorite movies, and it's maybe after the first 2 minutes you stop thinking in terms of these are two men. You start thinking in terms of this is
These are
you
two
know,
humans.
beautiful people, and they have relationship that I've experienced a lot of the same things in my relationship, and I have a wife and I'm straight. So all of that is just silly labels. It's all about
For
can you
sure.
play it?
Live
Yeah.
by example. That's all it is for me. I know we come from a place where labels sometimes are very, very important for people to even survive. They need those to make sense of who they are and and to own that. For me, I think I'm always seemed as straight and like I'm in the categories of like I get to have the I guess the privilege to pass, as you would say. So you know what I mean? And it's like right now I'm just trying to live by example, which is I can love a woman, I can love someone who is non-binary or a man or however they identify on screen or off screen, and that is okay. And I am part of that. And like I just do it by example without having to like push it down people's throat and like you know what I mean? Defend myself or defend who or why I love them. And it
Yeah.
sucks that you have to do that. But I think the industry is moving towards a more open-minded when it comes to that. We're writing a lot more characters that love differently, who are not even differently, they just love who they love. It isn't about like separating them. It's just about realizing that we're all human and we have stories and love people. That's it.
Yeah, I love Schitt's Creek kind of take on things. It was so great. The whole, wine, red wine, white wine that Dan Levy did was just brilliant. We're people. Who cares? Get over it and move on to things that are more important to talk about. Okay, I appreciate that because I think from the acting perspective and for people who are watching, it's important, and I want to put them at ease and at the same time show them reality of what is happening.
For sure.
Um,
It
yeah,
depends on the project. Like your question to answer, like sometimes you're going to be boxed in and sometimes you won't. But you
yeah,
want to work with the people who are giving you the opportunities to show different aspects of yourself. And if they don't want you, you don't want them either. That's fine.
yeah. No, and it's a very important lesson, right? We don't want every acting role that comes across us. Some may be wrong, some may be just in bad timing, and some you may not want to work with. So it's great. You don't have to take everything just because it's offered.
Exactly. I definitely not said yes to everything I've been offered. There's so
Good.
many different things that come into play when it comes to choosing the right job because ultimately that is out there forever. It is your face attached to a project, attached to something you're saying, something you stand for. You're going to be interviewed about it and you better have something to say. And if it's something that's ultimately like wrong or it's harmful or discriminatory, then why would you want to be associated with that?
Yeah, I was offered to play, and I found that humorous at first because I was offered to play a young Vladimir Putin. And I thought that was hilarious because I look nothing like Vladimir Putin.
Right.
And then I thought, okay, well, aside from that, would I want to be associated with the project where I'm playing Vladimir Putin? And the answer is no, I don't.
Yeah. And
So,
that's what I'm like, hey, the story happened and it needs to be told. It
yeah,
needs to be told in a certain way that you're not just like, yay, Putin, not that way. Just like there are stories that need to be told. But sometimes you're like, I just don't want to be the person to do that.
yep.
Yeah.
So I said no. Let's, from Putin, let's get into the more interesting and entertaining things in life. Like I found in doing my kind of deep dive on you, I found that you're a Harry Potter fan. I am too. I still can't make my kids read the books. They've seen the movies, thankfully. I can't make them read the books. I don't know why. I'll work on it.
It's an
I
overwhelming read. It's like you got this amount of time to read. Yeah. I mean,
it's
nowadays you kind of do.
but still, I mean, it's a book. I don't care how thick it is. It's Harry Potter. Once you start reading the first few pages, you're hooked. You gotta, it's gonna fly anyway. Um, so I know, you have you had the sorting hat thing? Because I actually went to Universal where I had that,
Oh
and
my, well, I never
it,
got to do the physical thing, but a lot of the fandom loves doing these like tests of like what
yeah.
house you're in. I found that I'm actually from Hufflepuff. I feel like Brooklyn is Gryffindor. I thought I was Gryffindor, and then I was like, no, I am Hufflepuff. It's true.
Well, the
Hilarious.
sorting hat actually put me in Gryffindor, which was cool because I think of myself as the original Harry Potter. I don't know if you can see the scar.
Oh my
Uh,
God, you do have a scar.
right
Amazing.
there. This is not makeup, people. This is something I've had since I was, I think, 2 years old or earlier.
Wow.
Uh, so when the Harry Potter came out and I saw the book and I saw a boy in glasses with dark hair and a scar, I thought,
Wow.
okay. Something similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Um,
this story. Yeah.
Very cool. And then yeah, I also saw that you love scuba and you're certified in scuba. Do you do any of it, since
In
coming to
Canada,
Canada?
I haven't in a while. I mean, there's not a lot to see here, and it's cold, so I don't really want to wear a dry suit and scuba dive. But um,
No.
when I travel, I try to scuba dive for sure. And it was something I did almost every weekend, at least every week when I lived in Aruba. That's where I got it. And my friends and I, that's what we used to do for fun, just go scuba diving. Different
No.
life. Yeah.
I love the Kim's Convenience episode where Appa and
Oh, I
Amma
did
went
that one
scuba diving.
too. Yeah, that's in the new season. Oh, such a good show.
Yes, I'm so happy that they got it for I think 2 more seasons. It got picked up.
Sequel.
Speaking of which, again, it's thanks to Sujit who kind of introduced me to you. I'm really happy that I got a chance to do that deep dive because I saw, you see the outer shell as first, but then you get to know the type of person, and that was the part that excited me and made me want to speak to you because of everything that you're putting out into the world, of all of the even though it's a full spectrum, but you're putting out love and positivity and acceptance and support for people who need it. And I think that's a beautiful combination. And I really appreciate it to get to know that.
Yay, me too. That's what I live for. I think we need more of that in the world, and yeah, I'm happy to like be a source of whether it's a chat or an encouragement or anything. I definitely feel like I help them and they help me every day. Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to Oreo, and thank you to everybody.
He
There's,
needs to
there's
eat
yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Thanks for everybody who's tuning in. Thanks for showing your support. We really appreciate it. Comment. We want to know what you think. We want to know what other questions you have. And knowing what I know so far of Umberly, she may be able to respond to it. Thanks, everybody.
Sure. Thank you.